Hello and welcome to Election Decides 2023. And we're looking at the election review in series. And this is the second series. And joining me today is Mr. Aliu Mohammed. He's the CEO of Magnet Communications, former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper. Hello, Mr. Aliu.
Good afternoon, Damilola. How are you doing?
I'm very fine, thank you. Happy elections.
Same to you. I hope you guys are safe.
Yes, we are safe here in the studio. But I need to ask you, how was the, voting and how was it in your polling unit yesterday? Were you able to vote?
Well, in my polling unit, it was peaceful because people tried as much as possible to adhere to the rules. And with enough security men on ground, people were cautious of the fact that if they misbehave, it could come with grave consequences. But it was not so peaceful in some other parts of Lagos and other parts of the country too, because we had stories of ballot box snatching, multiple voting. We saw videos of people thumb printing for some other people who were on the queue, elderly people who were on the queue. You understand what I'm saying? We saw all those videos, and in some part of Lagos, it was a battleground for thugs and miscreants who came to voting centers to disrupt the processes of voting in many areas. For instance, in Lekki Axis, we saw soldiers dealing with some of those miscreants who were arrested, and in some parts of Lagos Island too, we had cases of violence. I saw the video of a lady who came out to vote, who was, I think it was stabbed in the face, but she still came back after treatment to ensure that she voted. Then we also had cases of people who were protesting that they have been disenfranchised in some parts of the country and also in Lagos. This, I think, should not be so. With the security arrangement that the government has put in place, we thought that people will obey the rules and vote peacefully. But
Mr. Aliu, what do you have to say about the security officials? Because according to many people in their polling units, they could not see these security officials. Though we saw troops of, we saw soldiers entering Lagos State, in numbers few days before. So, of course, people were not expecting a ballot to be stolen because of this.
You see, the truth of the matter is that you cannot expect soldiers to be at all the polling booths. In some areas, you have more than 20 polling booths. If you have to distribute soldiers to 20 polling booths in an area, you probably would have all the soldiers in a particular area. So what the soldiers were doing was to patrol, engage in patrol duties around all parts of Lagos. And policemen were stationed at various polling booths. We should blame those policemen who were supposed to have ensured that there was peace and order in their various polling booths, but they did not perform their duties. Soldiers were only patrolling because I moved around and I saw them patrolling all the streets, but they couldn't patrol the inner streets of Lagos. And most of these problems started from the inner streets. But to the areas where the attention of the soldiers were called, they ensured that they dealt with the situation appropriately. I saw some people were being whipped.
No, but people were saying, but we had people on social media saying they needed soldiers in all polling booths. But of course, that police officials were there, like you said. So is it that people trust the soldiers more, than the police, despite the fact that the police are supposed to be protecting just the terrain of the country, not dealing with civilian, issues?
You see, people fear the soldiers more than the police because where you have like about 10 policemen, you need just 2 soldiers there to maintain some sanity, because they know that they don't care. They can deal with you outrightly once you are caught. But policemen will be hesitant in meting out appropriate punishment due to the issue of fundamental human rights. But soldiers, they don't care whether your rights are trampled upon. Once you go against the law, they want to deal with you decisively. And that's why people prefer to have soldiers on ground than the policemen. So I think that answers your question on why people prefer soldiers than the policemen during elections. You saw what happened to the people that were caught in Lekki Axis. They were mercilessly beaten. Policemen would not do that. They could only arrest and within some hours detain that person, and they must release. But if you get caught by soldiers, may God help you.
All right, let's talk about the INEC officials, Mr. Liu. Some of them got to the polling units very late. In short, some they could not even get to the polling unit, so they were not able to vote. So the materials also didn't get there. Now, you voted yesterday. Some people voted today. As in some other places, some people continued voting till 4 a.m. this morning. Now, what do you have to say about the INEC officials? Because they've been preparing for this for a long time. It's not just something that just came out of the blues. What do you have to say about them, the officials and INEC?
Well, the truth of the matter is that in most polling booths, voting did not start on time. And this is far below the expectation of the people on the preparation of INEC for this. Because they started moving voting materials 3 days before Saturday. And they have no excuse for the issues that came about the lateness of the INEC officials to various polling booths. In my area here, voting did not start until about 9:30, 10. It was supposed to start at, I think, 8, but it didn't start until very late in the afternoon, in some places too. So people voted till about 4, 5, and up till 4 a.m. this morning, people were still voting, and it is far below the expectation of Nigerians. We expected that INEC would have had its simulation exercise before the election. There should have been some simulation exercises so that on the day of the election, they would have perfected everything that they need to perfect. But I doubt if there were simulation exercises before this election. I expect that INEC would have prepared well enough, get transportation for its officials, and move them to spot in good time so that the election could start at the appropriate time it was meant to start.
All right. Some people also complained that BVAS failed in their in their own polling units. And of course, people were complaining that this could happen. And later on, they started collecting the results in a manual way. I mean, BVAS is supposed to be, done electronically and not in a manual way. So what do you think about the activities of BVAS? Is it a machine that should be used subsequently?
Well, you can't condemn it outrightly because of this failure. But like I said, we expected the INEC to have done some of its homework very well. BVAS is an instrument that is not supposed to fail during the election. It is the instrument that will be used to accredit voters, and it plays a huge role in the dispatching of the results from various polling booths to the INEC platform, electronic platform. But unfortunately, that could not happen. I saw videos again of people who talked about the Senate results and the House of Representative results being sent with a lot of ease But when it got to the presidential election result, it stopped going. That to me is an embarrassment and it's an indictment on the part of INEC that we have this kind of situation. We were all looking out for a clean and clear processes for this election, but unfortunately, all these complaints that we've been having around the country shows that it is not a perfect experiment. I will not want to roundly condemn the entire election because you can have pockets of crisis in some places. Since we are in Lagos, you wouldn't know what the situation is in other parts of the country. But in most parts of the country, we've had reports of the beavers failing. And an instrument so crucial to the elections that we are conducting is supposed to have been perfected before today. The use of it is supposed to have been perfected before the day of the election. I don't know if INEC did that at all.
But who should we blame for some of those failures? Because according to what we heard, somewhere in Rivers State, some of those officers, they could not upload the results. They said they need to get to the local government before they will be able to upload the results because the code is not working. And that is against INEC rules. So who should we blame?
No. That is an attempt to rig. It was an attempt to rig. All the codes they are supposed to use to transmit the results are given to the head of the electoral team. That is what I got to know. The codes were given to them, and there is no reason why the code would not work. Why would you now say that you must go to the local government? That was an attempt to rig and manipulate the results. I disagree with that assertion that the codes were not working. That is the Nigerian in us. You have only seen the Nigerian in us. We try to sabotage every process. We try to manipulate every situation to our own personal advantage without considering the advantage of the nation as a whole. I disagree with the assertion that the code failed or the code was not going through. I disagree with that because we read a report that said there was going to be network failure throughout the country during the election. But I wonder that if there will be network failure, how will those results be transmitted? But there was a refuter from INEC and in fact from the National Communications Commission that all the networks will be on. So there is no reason why the code should not be going through. I disagree with them on the failure of the code.
But some results have been flying since yesterday, despite the fact that we have people still voting today. What do you have to say about these results, even though they were not certified by INEC?
See, the truth of the matter is that if you give a madman a hoe to go and till the land, he will till the land towards his own side. That is what I am seeing here. I have seen a set of results compiled by the PDP. I have seen the one compiled by the APC. I have seen the one compiled by the Labour Party. But the authentic results, which will be acceptable to the entire country, will have to be released by INEC. I am surprised and shocked that people voted till 4 a.m. this morning, and by 8 o'clock in the morning, people are already sending full results from 36 states into circulation. That is wrong. It can precipitate a crisis if it is not well managed. I want to urge Nigerians to please be patient and watch the kind of result they want to believe until INEC comes out with the details of what transpired on Saturday. For me, those results are not tenable until INEC is out with everything that has to do with the Saturday elections.
Usually when we vote in Nigeria, when the vote, you hear people announcing the result, and of course the INEC officials there, they count it and they announce it there at the polling booth. Of course, people who stayed usually listen to this, and of course they sign with their own party agents. But most times when it gets to INEC and they start announcing these results, we hear something different. Now with the snatching of ballot box and all these issues with beavers, are we expecting same thing to happen this time around?
You see, all the results, like we have said on this platform, we have to be sent to INEC. Don't also forget that all those polling agents and the officials there, they have a way of manipulating figures. I personally saw a video where some INEC officials were thumb printing. I saw a video where results were altered to favor a particular political party. And don't forget that apart from the party representatives, the security men at the venue, we have to certify the results that will be sent to INEC's platform. So it is at the discretion of INEC to come out with what it deems to be the authentic figures. Whatever figure that INEC releases anytime from now will be seen to be the authentic figure. There are results that INEC, in its wisdom, can disagree with. And when that result is out, it will run contrary to the results that the parties have. And that is where we have disagreement among political parties, because INEC will use its wisdom to decide which of those results has been manipulated, which is the original result, and that should be accepted. So we allow INEC to do its work at its own time and announce the result. Whoever feels disgruntled about the results that will be announced by INEC can challenge it. That's why we have the courts.
All right. Lastly, let me ask you this one. What do you think about Nigerians, the fact that they came out in numbers to vote yesterday? I mean, when people were still saying, I know it's just social media votes, and when it comes to voting, you won't see the people. But we saw, the zeal, how people came out to vote yesterday. And you also mentioned the lady, who was injured but still went back to, to vote despite being, attacked by thugs.
Damilola, I must commend Nigerians for the mass turnout yesterday. It is time, I believe that they felt that it is time for them to take charge of this country. It is time for them to change the situation in the country with their votes. They have been able to speak with their votes. And in places where people were not allowed to vote yesterday, we saw protests, massive protests. And we saw people who also stood at the various polling booths to ensure that votes were counted and forwarded to the INEC cyber space. So it is a commendable thing that Nigerians turned out in their millions to change the situation of this country. But you see, the power of voting is not negotiable under any democratic system where votes count. And Nigeria should not be a difference. I commend everyone that came out yesterday to vote. I commend their resilience. I commend their patience. I commend them for their courage, despite all forms of harassment by thugs. And I pray that their votes will count. At least those who voted, I pray that their votes will count.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Aliu, for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Damilola. You are most welcome.
Yes, and have a lovely day. That's Mr. Aliu Mohammed. He's the CEO of Magnet Communication, former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper. It just, reviewed, the elections with us today. Now, of course, to get more of our top stories and follow more on this election, the results, you can go to our website, www.vanguardngr.com. or follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. My name is Damlola Ogunshakin. Please stay with us as the election series 3 will be coming up soon.